Since the start of this fight, Gojo and Sukuna have been almost at a stalemate. Neither one of these two have actually been able to inflict any sort of significant damage to each other that wasn't just outright shrugged off by RCT. Gojo was caught in Sukuna's domain and he simply walked out of it with RCT in a simple domain. Sukuna was caught in Unlimited Void and he simply just kept in contact with Gojo to avoid being hit. And even damage like Gojo's red and him punching a hole in Sukuna's heart was simply just healed via RCT. But you know what else can't be healed via RCT? You subscribing to this channel and getting a massive PP buff. Like, that is literally the only thing you can't RCT. But since the Mahoraga has come into play, Gojo's ground has just been slowly but surely shrinking beneath his feet. And I've talked about this in streams and videos before, and you should definitely go and check those out after this one. But Mahoraga has been set up previously by Gojo himself to have been the one who has killed a previous Six Eyes Limitless user, and no other Shikigami in the 10 Shadows arsenal is capable of even trading blows with Gojo, and this is emphasized by 3 things. Number 1, Sukuna didn't summon any Shikigami to help fight against Gojo until the Mahoraga had made decent steps in the adaptation process to take Gojo out. There was no Smaller Nude, there was no Madoka Dia, no Pearson Bull, there was nothing else outside of this except the Mahoraga. Number 2, Sukuna also didn't keep Mahoraga summoned until Infinity was adapted, and I believe this was because Sukuna was aware that a fresh and powerful Gojo would have annihilated it in one shot in the same way Gojo had declared that he would. And before you go,
excuse me, Mr. Weeb, Gojo used red twice, and he couldn't kill the Mahoraga.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. Those 2 attacks, they did absolutely fail. But the first red was used where his aim was hindered by Escape Rabbit, and Escape Rabbit was used to get Mahoraga out of the situation because that was a full output red that was about to hit him. And then after that, Gojo's output was also on the decline, with Gojo even saying that it wasn't enough to deal any sort of real damage. But prior to those 2 attacks, Gojo was very confident in his red output and being able to one-shot Mahoraga in the same way that he one-shotted Agito with a blue. And finally, number 3, Agito, the most recent Chimera beast Shikigami, was just simply outclassed by Gojo as soon as he had a moment to himself and to single it out. Agito, being the fusion of Nu, Madoka Dia, and the Unseen Morn Tiger, still wasn't enough to combat Gojo's abilities, and none of the other Shikigami would even come close to this. However, the Mahoraga does. And as of the latest chapter, the Mahoraga has been shown to seemingly use Sukuna's Cleave and Dismantle against Gojo, which is a crazy turn of events. But I want to break this down because I think this goes a little bit deeper than just the Mahoraga being able to use it. There's got to be more to this situation than meets the eye. The Mahoraga's adaptation has been a wild process, and for the most part, it has been one of the most ambiguous powers that's come up within the series here. A power that is capable of whittling Gojo down, and something even Sukuna couldn't do up until this point. But the Mahoraga in the previous chapter of 234 was apparently holding back in a similar weird way. Mahoraga, this absolutely unbelievable smoke demon, took absolute pleasure in yeeting Megami into the wall the second it was summoned in Shibuya, is now sort of holding back, and we see Sukuna saying to Mahoraga, "How long are you going to make me wait? You are my shadow, not Megami's." And right after this, the Mahoraga apparently used Cleave and Dismantle after a wheel spin, and then slashed right through Gojo's Infinity at range and even taking his arm off, which is something we've never seen happen to Gojo. An attack that just carved straight through Infinity as if it was the inverted Spear of Heaven or something worse. And right now, given Gojo's reduced output, this now leaves him in an extremely bad situation. But it's the fact that as soon as the Mahoraga adapted to Infinity, he may have been able to do this from the start, but just simply chose not to. Like Shikigamis within the 10 Shadows, they seem to be sentient, and we've seen many examples of this, particularly with Divine Dog, who was given headpats from Inumaki, like the good boy that he is, and actually enjoyed them. And the same is said for the Mahoraga. There are many examples of the Mahoraga showing emotions on its face when in battle, raging from smiles and from being shocked to everything in between, which raises the question, can Megami Shikigami rebel against their owner in situations like this? The Mahoraga seems to acknowledge the fact that Megami is no longer holding the reins, and even though Megami had never tamed them before, the fact that it was Sukuna who was the one to tame him and not Megami could leave Mahoraga feeling somewhat annoyed in some type of way about it. But as it stands right now, Gojo's final attack in this next chapter is somewhat going to have to take out the Mahoraga, Mahoraga at the very least. Otherwise, this cycle of Mahoraga adapting and then firing attacks back at Gojo is just going to actually land, and it will be a very, very big problem for him. Hence why I'm saying I think Mahoraga will actually end up soloing Gojo within this series. As I've said for a long, long time now, originally I didn't think the actual Shikigami of the Mahoraga would be a problem. It would more so be the use of Sukuna's Dharma Chakra and the way he used the wheel to his advantage, using himself as the catalyst to take the damage and have Mahoraga adapt in the background so he could come out fresh. But this is exactly what has happened here, and this is in a very, very bad situation right now because Gojo doesn't really have any answer for the Mahoraga's adaptation process other than to charge up one big attack and pray that it takes him out in one shot. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. And as always, we're trying to hit 20,000 subscribers before the end of this month. But that is everything from me. And as always, I will catch you guys all in the next one. Much love, big kisses, peace.